All right, welcome to BRK TALK podcast, a podcast where we like to travel and journey to events and collaborate with organizations and places, events, festivals, people, and then get the guests to have a conversation about breaking and its layers that come with it. Culture, it's a dance, athletic, artistic, and actually whatever you like it to be. And for today's podcast, we're here in Ghent, Belgium. Tomorrow we're going to have Red Bull BC1 Belgium City Cypher, where we pick the top 16 for the national cypher. And then, of course, the winners there move on to the World Finals in Tokyo this year in November. And for this talk, it's an honor, it's a blessing to have him here in Ghent, in our home for hip hop. Together we stand. We're here in a bar. At the same time, there is some coaching being done, and we have here the one and only man, B-boy RoxRite. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. What's up? Thanks for having me. Good to be here, and I'm just honored to be able to come and see you doing this. And we need more of this. So thanks for having me.
Nice, man. Welcome. It's actually it's first time in Ghent City for you, right?
Yeah. The first time here. I've been to Belgium a few times, a few cities, but never here for some reason.
Okay, so yeah, welcome, man, and probably not gonna be the last time because
thank you, man.
I think there's a lot to do with you when it comes to breaking, especially when it comes to teaching, when it comes to passing on the knowledge and everything. So yeah, we're gonna continue the talk on that. But first of all, it's a blessing to have you here. We like to call you the general, the man with the most titles under his name. But as well, man, yeah, still active, still relevant, still. It's not just about the movement, but the way you approach this art form, this dance, with the full hip hop culture understanding. The music you still listen to, I do remember that was also like you just live the lifestyle, and that's something to me which has always inspired me actually and sparked. So thank you for that. First of all, my respect towards you, because you've been always a huge inspiration.
Much love, man. Thank you.
In me coming up and seeing you do what you do, and today sitting here in front of me, next to me, it's a huge honor again. What is it that passionates you really these days? And I mean, it could change always. Probably back in the days when you started, it was a different motivation, a different spark. But then how you keep that spark on, sometimes it goes off, then you gotta put it on again.
It comes and goes. I mean, you're right. I think early on in this experience for me, this journey I've been on, it was more of a competitive nature, right? It was more about being recognized. First, it was being recognized by my peers where I grew up. So there's this competitive nature that came with that. Being an immigrant, you have that competitive nature of wanting to prove yourself to society. So breaking is a dance that gave us that in our little community where we were from. So for me, growing up in Northern California, other immigrant kids breaked. I was an immigrant kid. A lot of them were doing street shit. I wasn't into it. I used breaking as my outlet, and that early on it was competitive. Throughout the years, it stayed that way, but through the love of hip hop culture as what it is, right? Like the lifestyle, the elements of hip hop, the music, the fashion, like the way we talk, like the way we represent ourselves, like all this stuff, all the information, all the details, all the things that were impactful, like all these different moments that have happened throughout time, right? Those things were all inspiration to stay connected to the culture, right? And just seeing this new movement and this new lifestyle becoming more socially recognized was something that was also inspiring for us, especially when you look at the transition between the 90s into the early 2000s. Breaking and hip hop in general was still, even though we don't really see it now, but back then it was still transitioning from this homegrown street independent thing that people did on their own to where we started commercializing it more and more when you really think about the transition. And even then through there, it was still through the competitive journey, right? I think the competitive journey and the spirit of the dance originally is a battle dance, right? We just formatted it in competition form. So for me, a lot of the competition is what drove me for many of those years. And through that, there's one thing that I always just knew that I had to keep true to myself, and I always felt like I always pushed that, was that I wanted to win with the way I break.
That's a dope one.
You know, so
What does that mean to you? Like, because it's super interesting to me. I want to win with the way I break, because you can win and feel shitty,
exactly,
and you can not win and still feel good of the way you break. You know, there's two wins
and
in
that's
there.
the win-win right
That's
there,
the
right?
win-win
That's
right
the win-win
there.
is when you lose a battle, but you still feel satisfied that you represented yourself at the highest level. And like what you've been developing, what you believe in, what you believe this dance is, what you believe the style that you represent is, and you want to maximize that and show that to the world at the highest level possible, right? So in competition, that was my thing. Is okay, I got to make sure that I win with this. I can learn these other moves that everybody's doing, and I can maybe take the time to develop that, but I want to win with this, right? This is the mentality that a lot of us had back then, and
what was the way of that you wanted to break? If you look at it, what is that the vision that you had?
I mean, the inspiration for my vision, it was to do the moves that you forgot about, to do the things that you don't have.
Yeah.
Right. That's one approach. The other is to just look as fresh as possible when you're doing it, like making sure that you make details look dope, that you look like a b-boy, that you look like the image of what hip hop represented to my era when I was growing up. And I have to say my era because today's era is not my era, right? And today's generation is not going to necessarily fully understand my era. But the idea is that you always have to look fresh, and that doesn't matter what era you're in.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a language that we speak, which is break. It has codes. It has music. It comes from somewhere, you know, and it has to be understandable by all the generations, I believe.
Yeah, so being fresh, that's timeless. You gotta look dope. If you're gonna look dope, you're gonna look dope.
Timeless.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter when it is.
True.
The idea is that you want to be dope and fresh and breaking and look and stand out. So that's you know into today's time, and the passion that I have now, and just where I'm at now is, and now I feel like I'm preserving an ideology or sort of a mentality of the game that maybe is not as common anymore. Right. That's what gives me the drive a bit more. So one is I'm moving in ways that I didn't move before. I'm exploring ideas that I didn't use before. So for me, I like to say that in today's time right now where I'm at, my breaking, one is the music. I'm finding new beats, new things, but also that's what's making me move the way I move now. And just exploring, being more free. And because I guess I locked into the competition realm for so long, competing and stuff, you get stuck doing certain things sometimes out of habit, that now I'm challenging myself to just do what I do at practice every day. So I'm moving like this at practice, I'm gonna do that in the battle. Yeah. And I'm gonna do this move on the spot. I just came up with something 2 minutes before the battle. I'm gonna do it in the battle.
Yeah. So is it way easier now than back in the days for you to implement that approach?
I mean, I've in some ways I've always implemented that idea. Yeah. Maybe not to the way that I do it now. I think now it's more just completely just like letting go. Or before I was implementing it in certain moments and times when it was needed, I would just do it. Like, okay, I got this move. It's a burner. I call them burners, like throwaway moves. So I might come up with something on the spot that I really like the way it feels, and I'm going to use it, but throw it away and I'll never do it again. Dope. So it's just like, that's, I've always had that type of mentality for it, but I think when we're young and we're in our peak and we're competing heavily and you're sort of developing the idea of like, okay, I want to dominate this competition shit, like you end up kind of getting comfortable with movement, and you don't use your exploration that you do at practice in battles as much. And you see it even in this generation, right? Like if you actually, I have footage of it. I have the evidence, so it's actually visible. I posted a video of me practicing in 2004 at Massive Monkey House before an event called Bumper Shoot. Yeah. And I was practicing with Moy, Rainin, Stilo. Dope and squad. It I was just, but the way I was breaking there, I didn't break like that in competition. So it's like
the gap between the practice and the competition sometimes is really
it's something be very different. Yeah. And that's today I'm doing more of what I would do at practice in the battle.
Is that also, isn't that an end goal as well for every b-boy almost? There's a saying, or I feel like everybody that I've met or exchanged with, oh, you should have seen him in practice. He used to be crazy in practice. Like this famous quote about people. But in practice he used to be wild.
That's what we say about Luigi. Sorry, Lou. That's my crew, but he's one of the best b-boys I've ever seen at practice.
Dope.
Hands down. Like Crazy.
Does that have to do with comfortableness and being comfortable in that space? And then when you go to a competition, you got to create that comfort, but sometimes it doesn't feel comfortably, especially because there's people involved, there's layers involved, and it triggers, it prickles our our thoughts, our brains, our minds, and it makes us like kind of more tensioned, so that we're not relaxed to perform the way we
Yeah,
practice.
I think you're right with that. I think, what I believe is that breaking is such a environment thing where when you practice and you develop it, it's almost like you're in your comfort zone, and that's your environment where you develop it the most and you get comfortable. And if you're so used to that, and then you go outside of that and you go to an event where there's a lot of different people around you, a lot of energy, a lot of different people kind of taking your energy,
Yeah.
that it can distract you from your focus, right? Because when
Yeah.
you're at practice with just us three here practicing right now, our focus is going to be a little different than when we have an environment of people that are consuming a bit more of the space with you. And they can be a bit of a distraction. I mean, I've experienced it myself. So definitely, I think it has a lot to do with it. But I think in terms of going to jams and competing with that type of mentality, you have to know how to disconnect from the idea of giving too much in like, you have to disconnect in terms of like focusing on the environment and the energy around it. You got to focus more on, like, if you're going to want to do that, you want to focus more on yourself mentally and kind of block yourself into where you're just in your own zone.
Yeah.
Like that's the best time that I feel like I gotten to just be free. I think, what was it, like freestyle session 2021? It was 4 of us, me, Ron, Castrito, and Jose, and we battled the Roto BC1 team in the semis, and we beat them with 4 guys. That time I went to that jam. I didn't talk to nobody. I was just ciphering on the side, just focused, like, in my own pocket.
That zone. And
I didn't even say what's up to nobody. I just walked in, went to this place. Nobody knew I was there, and I was just breaking.
Probably just because of that, you got into their head, and they were like, "Oh, RoxRite is here." He didn't even say hello.
I greeted a few people, but I stayed in a pocket where just you didn't know I was there.
It's dope. That's dope, man. And just to go back to the first question and your answer, you brought up the idea of, like, not the idea, but the fact that you immigrated, and that was a way of an outlet for you. And is it like, how did breaking actually help you break through and become part of the society in a way?
I mean, breaking for me, it gave me a voice in a place where I felt secluded or excluded, or like kind of kept out, right? I couldn't relate too much to the locals that were from there, born and raised there. And then also because of the disconnection I had from my own culture, I'm in the middle in between two cultures.
Feel you on that.
So, I'm not in Mexico anymore, but then I wasn't born in America. So then there's certain ways people live, right? But I couldn't connect to either or, but hip hop and breaking was that one voice where both met, right? The immigrants from Mexico that did hip hop, they met there, and then the people that were born and raised in America also loved hip hop, and they met there. And that's where I got to meet a lot of people that maybe I wouldn't have connected with prior. But for some reason, hip hop and breaking was always the avenue where I got a lot of love and support from some of these people and some of these kids I grew up with that pushed me and also inspired me in many ways to even get started. So it's really dope that hip hop was the avenue or the outlet that really gave me a voice and gave me an identity in many ways in society as an immigrant.
That's dope, man. I feel the same about it, especially also me and being an immigrant. Coming to Belgium at the age of 8, I started breaking around 12 years old. So that's like the age for me, like hip hop and breaking gave me just an identity which I didn't have because I wasn't there. I wasn't neither of that. But then through breaking, kind of everything, like blossoms after years of doing it. Of course, you got to practice it. Super interesting, man, to have that approach. And especially I had with last weekend in Berlin, had a talk with Phil Wizard as well. And also coming from an immigrant background as well in Canada, had like a similar feeling. It's an interesting
I mean,
topic.
because you migrate to a new place, you're raised in a certain environment, and you're used to certain ways of being in your society, like your environment, your city, wherever you're from. your country and traditions that they carry, right? And then you go somewhere new where you're having to relearn a new language, the way people live, the way people are, and you're just readjusting to habits that people live by, and they're not necessarily bad. You're just not used to it, so you're just trying to move within that and find a way to connect with people. And a lot of people are very welcoming, so that helps a lot, right? But in some ways, because there's certain roots that you don't have in either place, I feel that for an immigrant, I feel you're constantly trying to find yourself. And a lot of us either use sports or whatever we choose to do, we try to reach the highest level of success in it, right?
The street arts as well, mostly,
exactly.
where we have the direct contact, because it's breaking is free almost. Like all you need is your buddy.
Yeah.
Or, you know, even though I remember wanted to do other sports as well. I wanted to do skating as well, or BMX, but it was expensive back then to buy these equipment.
Yeah, for
Breaking
sure.
was the only
the only one that was like
you don't need anything.
You already have your body, just use it.
Have your body, use it the way you want to use it.
Yeah, I feel it. It's true.
It's funny. Yeah, man, that's dope. RoxRite, like, I mean, I always wanted to ask you this question because it's funny, because you have the most titles as a b-boy. This is crazy to me. When is it enough?
When is it enough? I mean, it already is. You know, I think it's been already enough. It's just it's just more that I decided to keep track of them, and then the other is just that, to me, I don't see an expiration date to what we do. Right?
I love that.
I think people standardize hip hop as it is a young man's game, right? It is a young culture for young people, but at this day and age where we're at today, it's no longer that, right? It is still heavily in the youth, but there is practitioners that have surpassed the barriers that many socially
matured into something else,
way different. And the standards that people have put on us in society, where by 30 you need this, by 35 you need that. I mean, we got dudes that are in their 50s that are still breaking, living the lifestyle, icons and iconic figures in our culture. I mean, for me, it's all about skill, because when I was 16, I was battling the best, and when I'm 42, I'm battling the best.
Still the best, yeah.
So there's no I'm 16 and he's amazing. To me, it's like, it's about skill.
It just, breaking is because it's not about that necessarily about technical difficulties. It can be about style,
exactly,
or approach. That makes it sometimes also super, super interesting.
Definitely, I agree with you. I mean, when you really think of that, just the idea of that in general, breaking is a stylistic thing, right? So even the idea of somebody's peak, there's different peaks, right? I've been breaking for 30 years and I've been competing for 26 of them. So incredible. My first peak that I could say that I knew I was at a point in my breaking where I'm like confident. I walk into a jam. I may not win the jam, but I know I can fucking smoke some people in there, you know? So it's like the mindset is like, okay, I'm there. It's on. I'm confident. Yeah, it's on. Let's go. And that was the first time I felt that way, was in 99. And I don't even breaking 4 years. I was
almost 25 years ago, man.
I was 16, 17 years old back then. So that was one peak, right?
Damn.
And then that's the peak. That peak, I would say that's what got me out to go to Pro-Am 99 when they put me on this team to go battle. The second time where I felt like I reached a different level of a prime was when I was around 23. When I won UK Champs in 2005, 20 years, oh my God.
2005, 20 years ago? Yeah. And UK Champs is coming back. Shout out to Hooch. Yeah, this year is going to be in Manchester in August.
Yes, I heard.
So it's going to be fresh to see that coming back. In 2005, you won UK Champs one-on-one.
Yeah. So 2004, 5 were like my peak years of a different prime. By 2007, I was already, I would say, on the decline of that moment I reached in my career, that prime. And then again, I would say that I reached a different prime when I won BC1 in 2011. That was almost 6 years later.
Wow. And then last year you won Unbreakable, our 19th anniversary.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of your titles that you didn't have as well on your name, and you just came for it. Is it correct that you were invited to judge the Nike battle in Paris?
Yeah. I got invited to judge the Beyond.We
Yeah.
competition for Nike, the $100,000 battle.
And you still decided to say no. I just want to go for the
Nah, I'm coming
title.
for the belt. I was supposed to do the USA BC1 camp. I was supposed to be a part of it, but I had already told myself that I was coming here for a year, almost for a year before that. So I was like, yeah, I already made the commitment. There was moments where I was doubting, like, damn, should I go? I was like, you know what? Let's run it. I'm already there. Let's go do this.
This is another reason, man, why I respect you a lot. Commitment to the craft, but commitment to your word, and also that's a difference between a pro and an amateur. You know, like it's like that commitment. When you say give your word, you're gonna show up. You're gonna be there. And even though when you made the commitment to yourself, saying, look, I'm gonna go to get this one more title and work towards it, kind of dedicate your time and energy. You direct it towards that. So suddenly, if another opportunity comes on the road, that's more like a distraction, right?
Yeah, it becomes because there is certain things that we set out to do in our breaking, right? And for me, when I decided to do Unbreakable last year, it was more that's something that I had just been wanting to pursue. I did tell myself, there's a tweet. So if you follow Twitter or whatever, I saw Tom Brady win a Super Bowl at 43, 44. And at that time when I saw him win that, I was still I was like 38, 39. But if Tom Brady could win a Super Bowl at whatever age he was in at the time, I said, fuck that, I'm winning a few more, right? So I won freestyle session for the 5th time in 2022 with Squadron Ruggeds. That was a world championship that I felt like I needed to do. Dope. And then I was, all right, I need one-on-one before, like, I completely quit, right? And Unbreakable was one of the ones that I was like, okay, that's something that I want to win because I feel like it just has that level. Yeah. So I decided
some
that
other
was the
breakers has won that too, and it makes it more
it's a prestigious thing. Yeah, I was like, I want to win something like Unbreakable, right? A big event. So I just, once I made that commitment, it was something that I knew that I wanted to achieve in my life and my career before I completely stopped competing. So I was able to knock out 2 world titles, one by myself and one with the group. And I've done that in 3 decades. So it was an achievement that I wanted to do before I quit. And maybe it won't be remembered in the long run, but in my history, in my life, and when my time is done, at least I can say that in the 2000s, I won freestyle session, UK champs. In the 2010s, I won BC1 and 3 freestyle sessions or 2 and a bunch of other world ones. And then in the 2020s, I won another a few world titles on my own.
That's dope. Like every decade.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dope.
And to do that, it's only a handful of people in our history have ever done that. So
it's also, like this is actually incredible, man. And then this brings us a bit to the next thing. Is like, what is your role today? Like in a role, I mean, sometimes we're leading, sometimes we're following, sometimes we're learning. We're always learning. It's we're always students. But at the same time, man, you have such a luggage of knowledge, of understanding of this art form of breaking, and a humble person as well. Like the giving back part, which you already do, I do believe. I remember the multiple times that I've exchanged with you. You've been always thoughtful and sharing knowledge as much as you can. Yeah. So, but how do you see your role at the moment?
For me, I think it's just more because it's just a lifestyle. We just live this. And I remember when I was young and I met some of the people I looked up to, and the way that they were just so open to give me information and share their information with me, I feel that it's my job to do it back, right? So it's my way to do it. And in many ways now I feel more of, I guess, somebody that is given information, right? So I can't say that I'm like a coach or a teacher, even though I do all these things. Yeah. I just more share the culture with people and share my experiences and my lineage with those that want to learn it. And there's different roles that we play, right? I mean, some stuff is not measurable, right? A lot of stuff is people try to measure everything by competition. It's like, if you make them win, then, but that's not, for just like some stuff on paper, it's just not measured. Like you can't see it like statistically, right? It's not like I can kick the ball to you 50 times and say
it's not about the fastest or
it's like now I have, for example, right, I became president of Renegades, like the leader of Renegades, right? That was handed down to me.
Congrats.
After being down with them for 20 years.
Yeah, but that's dope too, like.
So that's one, right? So now with them, I've been helping the younger generation of Renegades, which in the last 5-6 years we've been more active again, newer talent coming in, and my job is to help guide them, to give them my information and the lineage of what Renegades has been for 40 years, to make sure that they get the information, and when I'm done being active with them, they can carry on that information, right? Then we have Squadron. Squadron is a group that I help develop as well, right? Or we help create it and come together as a collective.
I mean, one of the illest crews in the world as well, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's another crew that I feel I have been heavily involved with. So that stuff you can't put on paper, right? It's not something that you can say like, oh, this is.
Yeah.
So that, but then imagine doing that through just connecting with different people, our online content, all these different things. So we play. I mean, my role is way different now. I don't know. For me, it's just me. I'm just being RoxRite, and I'm just living it. Right? Yeah.
Because I mean, it's funny because you came in, boom, you carry your camera, you have your camera, you always take content since I can remember again, since I saw you for the first time. Yeah. Boom, you had your equipment with you, like you put your equipment there. You were always documenting. You were always, making sure everything is being captured, because it's a journey, and this journey you want to look back at it and somehow also pass it on and make sure it's being seen by the next generation.
Yeah,
this is dope as well, because the even before, like you said, the Lords of the Floor footage which came from you, that's also like
it's me just
dope.
Hanging out in Seattle for a weekend.
but normal people wouldn't say, hey, RoxRite.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't promote myself as that. I do. People see it, but I don't really put myself out there as much. I should. I want to, but I do video. I edit. I shoot. I produce, co-produce, and co-shot the Crew Code.
That's nice.
So that's something that me and this lady Ariston put together on paper and was able to get approved to shoot that. That's something that I helped create.
Crew Code, that was really a dope one. How long was the per episode?
It was like 10 minutes per episode. Yeah, it was 8 episodes, and Nilu was involved too. So it was just really dope to have, someone like me and Nilu be involved like that. It was really an experience. I learned a lot, and even then, I don't promote it because I'm still learning all the time about it, right? So when I shot that and we did that, I learned a lot. But even then, it's a different ball game, right? I break, and my specialty is breaking.
Exactly.
So that side is more. I see myself more as I'm still learning. So maybe that's why I'm a little shy to speak on it.
And this is so interesting to me when you say that, because like even doing this, like setting up the podcast, I'm always like, okay, whoa, but it's already now the 6th episode already, and while doing it you learn, and it's so interesting to me, like that we as breakers have many.
Yeah, we wear many hats.
Yeah, right. This is one of the parts that we have to actually, because
because we don't have the budgets to
exactly
cover everything.
it's the truth as well, but as well that makes us also people of many skills, many stakes. Like we know how to problem solving, quick
we're good at problem solving. Yes.
We need the cameraman. I got this. We need this. I got this. We need the judge. I got this. We need the host. We do it.
Exactly. See, you can do all these things, right? You can host. You can.
Yeah.
You organize. You teach.
But because
you compete, you break.
Isn't this like hip hop as well? Like like one of the elements. Who is it who likes to say it? KRS One. One of the elements is as well organization or something like that. If I
think
believe
so.
it. Yeah. And I do believe it's also documenting. It's also making books. Like the videotapes that I have in the back. It's like also part of it.
This era.
This
crazy era.
Yeah. And I remember Cross One telling a story. That was really his main thing. Like the videotapes, really about freestyle session, which used to be going like.
I mean, to be honest, that era of just being able to sell a product might have been one of the most, like, in terms of getting something in return from the event. I think that was probably the era where people capitalized the most from it. Because even for individuals, right? Even me, who I ended up more on the latter part of that generation, I made a DVD in 2006. I started editing it in 2004. I finished it after I won UK Champs because it was just the right time for me to release the product. Because that's when I got the most interest, right? I beat Hong, I beat Physics, and it's like, who's RoxRite. So then RoxRite is this guy, and I have a DVD, right? So
Bam.
right place, right time, and it just worked out that way. And with that though, I was able to make money from it. So it was, for me, it helped me a lot actually to pursue breaking even more
Dreams.
serious, because it just gave me the freedom, or it gave me the pillow of comfort that I had a little bit of money from that, to where I can take a bit more risks pursuing my dream, right? A broke man's dream.
Yep. Talking about risks, super interesting. What is a risk that you've been taking lately?
Lately? Damn, maybe I've been too comfortable lately.
It's good. You gotta be comfortable as well. So.
I mean, risk. No, I would say just, putting myself out there and challenging myself to. I mean, look, you said, okay, normally I wouldn't do that. Like when you asked me about coming on Breakable or taking a guarantee for such a big event.
Yeah.
That was a risk, and I was risking it more for my own personal goal of achieving something, right?
Yeah.
Minor risk, I guess you could say, but it's still a risk.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like I left a guarantee on the table to come out for something else.
True.
That was not guaranteed.
Yes.
So it's like, I mean, you're risking.
You still have to battle for. You got to throw yourself out there. While if you sit comfortably judging, you still have. It's an opportunity. You get the guarantee.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, a different type of opportunity. Yeah. So there's different risks in that sense. I mean, the risk of just, I guess I would say, learning and throwing myself out there to try different things, right? When it comes to filming and stuff like that, and shooting more and stuff. That's, for me, I'm learning, and it feels like I'm like, damn, this is not. I don't know where I'm going with this, but. Let's see where it goes. But yeah, little things like that. I can't say that I'm like a big risk taker because the risks that I did take were earlier on, and the idea of even pursuing this.
So you got your experience now, and you calculate things as well. You
I try to.
Yeah. You have to at some point. I mean, you got to make sure, you do things right, plan things. You also gain experience on the journey of taking these risks.
Yeah, I mean, okay, one risk I took was, for example, right, I had never lived from breaking at a certain point in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s. I've always, up till I was 26 years old, I worked a job, or I always had something in the way of my breaking. So in 2006, I went to LA. I did a few auditions. I felt like I could do something with it. Then I was offered a tour for some sort of performance. They were developing it. And I was just working a job. So I remember it was one of my crew members, Wicket. I got to put your name out there.
Shout out to Wicket.
So he's like, yo, you should do this tour. One of the other guys is not doing it. You should come down. But I was literally there, like, I was there on a weekend for another event called Crazy Commandos.
Oh, okay.
And no. It was for Hip Hop International. And then it was me, Kid David, Flowmaster, Wicket, and Squid who won that battle, and Speedy. And then I hung out with them a few extra days. And that's when I got these auditions. And then they're like, okay, maybe you could come back and do it. And I went back up north, drove 6 hours to quit my job the next day and drive back to LA 2 days later to try and pursue this dance career
dream. Wow.
And did it work out? No, it did not work out at all. It was the worst fucking decision I've ever made. But because I quit my job on the day, like I just walked out, like, you know what, I have to take this.
Do it.
I'm gonna just do this. I mean, it wasn't a crazy job, but it was a guaranteed job. You know, I always had money in my pocket working what I did. I was delivering pizzas, so I went and quit that job to go try and do this off-Broadway theater show thing. And they were going to pay me to just basically break, and I was excited to okay.
That's what I want.
Sick, that's what I want. I've never done it. And then I took the risk. I went there and spent almost a month out there in LA trying to do that. And yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah,
nothing came from it,
but you learn out of it, I guess.
Of course, it's a learning experience.
This is the things you don't do again. You're like, nah. I've been there. I have that experience already. I'm not gonna try it again. I tried it. Hell no. Tried to go into a commercial thing as well. I even remember having doing publicities for Mercedes and stuff like that here in Belgium. I mean, we were never smart enough. I believe for myself, we were never smart enough to get everything what we deserved out of all of these opportunities. And I hope we learned out of it, especially with the Olympics and now what the opportunities that came with it. I hope a lot of people learned out of it.
I mean, yeah, we definitely all learned something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of learnings. So it's a lot of teachings, whether it's direct or indirectly.
True.
But I think the scene itself sees what's going on, sees what's happened. And I think it's more for us to really level up now. Now it's time to elevate even more, independently in many ways, because the way things went after, as we all know, and we are living it and going through it now.
Yeah.
You know, we're
when you
aware
talk
of it.
about independently, you're independently. Oh damn! I
Independently, yeah, or independent.
When you talk about independently, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Is it like? Do you think we can create a sustainable scene culture independently?
We already have an ecosystem, and there's already been an ecosystem, right? So
competitions,
maybe, there's
everything.
events. I mean, we have a sort of a circuit of things that already are in place in many ways. Is it super sustainable? No, maybe not. But it's working for now. It's worked for now. It's been working for a while. But to reach those other levels, definitely, I think it just has to take a bit more work and a bit more of an effort from different people, myself, other people in the scene, to put in that type of work, right? To want to reach those levels. But it's also about unifying and coming together a bit more instead of being so divided.
I like that.
So
I've felt that, man. Like, especially being as well involved into the breaking scene, especially with the journey of the Olympics as well, as a host here and there, connected with all the organizers. I look at myself still as a young guy coming up, you know, like, even though I try to do a lot, I do a lot, but still I'm like, it's not, you know, it's not my part to fix or to be, but I feel like what you said, to unify, to be more connected. And I get it from some of the promoters or people who are a bit on top, have things running for them.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want to risk it, maybe, or, you know, like, they don't work together, or some clashes happen here and there.
And it's okay. I mean, that's also gonna happen, right? But in the end, there is a longer term goal.
Yes.
You know, right? So it's eventually something's gonna change. Things evolve. Things grow.
Yes.
Things get outdated. Things move in different directions.
Yeah.
Breaking goes up and down. It's happened many times.
Yep.
The bubbles burst. I mean, in the 80s, the exploitation and everything that died when it was considered dead. Now we had a bit of hype for the Olympics, which I don't think is near what happened in the 80s.
Yeah.
But now that bubble of the Olympics burst as well. So now a lot of people are left like, what am I doing now? What do we do now, right? But we just got to remember that this was here before all of that shit.
True that.
So whatever is around, this existed prior to that. I found breaking through kids in my neighborhood. I didn't find breaking because I saw it on the internet or on a movie or anything. I saw it firsthand, directly from the source of people that lived it. So it's always going to be around. So naturally, this has grown into somewhat of a profession, and it's become a business for many, right?
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And
Definitely not. No.
I think letting go of the idea that you can't make money from it, or that we shouldn't, or that it has to be kept a certain way, is what held us back in the past. But I think now that a lot of us have grown enough in this dance and lived it long enough to make it a career or make something from it, now it's okay. What's next? What's the next phase we got to get to?
How can we organize it? How can we make it more, you know, like, so that, to me, for example, as well, super interesting what you bring up right now, because it's so important for what is next, you know, what's that next phase that we can make sure that our younger generation who's coming behind us has a platform where they can maybe really make a living out of that. And because that still doesn't exist in my perspective, even though I've been making a living out of breaking and since 2012 with hella ups and downs.
For sure, yeah. I feel you. It's not easy.
And it ain't easy to whoever who wants to do it. You can make it, you can do it. I do believe where there's a will, I always say there is a way. You can make it happen, but it's not an easy thing, especially because our scene is not that rich. you know?
Yeah. Also, it's really small when you
Yeah, and
really
it's
think about
small.
breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's very niche. It's very specific. It's a small
Hmm.
amount of people. When you really think about numbers, it's not like a crazy amount of people that are breaking, right? And
Hmm.
it's also a hard dance.
Yeah, man.
You know, motherfuckers want to get famous on TikTok and Instagram quick. They don't
Bam.
want to put in that much work to develop. That's his own skill, actually, too, when you really think about it. I guess I can't really knock it, but that's his own skill. But breaking is a very physically demanding skill that is very transparent. And if you're whack and you're formers or you just suck, it's
Yeah.
going to show. And it's
Yeah.
just this dancing exposes people, right?
I mean,
So
you
it's a
can,
hard thing, period.
yeah, you can break through, like you said. You can
Yeah.
make daily videos of you
Yeah.
in practice and not even have been to a gym your whole life. It's possible as well these days with the
Exactly.
internet going that
Yeah.
way. But then in breaking, there is something of being recognized, being seen, being visible, being
Mhm.
respected or loved by your peers and by the people who has been doing it before you.
Mhm.
There's that magic that I personally always try to pass it on, to make sure you always, be
Yeah.
part of the table, add something to that table, which is the hip hop breaking
Yeah, I
scene.
mean, breaking in general, I think the culture in general is a human experience, right? It's a thing that has to be
Mhm.
experienced in life. It's not something that you
There
can
you
really
go.
live in by watching online, right? It's just you really have to go experience it in person to fully understand it and embody the energy and the essence of what this is.
Yeah.
Whether it's a small jam, a big jam, a party, I don't know, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's just about experiencing this. It's a thing that needs to be done in person most of the time. And I
Well,
think those that have lived it or have truly fallen in love with it, they had an experience that they went somewhere, they felt something, they saw something
yeah.
that really triggered them to really love this the way we love this.
Yeah. If you like the moves, I mean, that's nice. You can see a
Yeah.
90 or a move on spinning on your head.
Yeah.
It's clearly visible. Wow.
Yeah.
And if you can see it on TV, you can see it anywhere. But there is something about being on event, having that music,
Yeah.
having this crowd around it, and when something happens, which I like to call it's aligned with everything, aligned with the music, aligned with
Yeah.
with the moment,
Yeah.
in the moment. Yeah, I like to call it the it. What's that it? I don't know what it is. It's just it. It
It's the
makes
moment.
everybody
Yeah.
explode. It makes everybody connect. It makes everybody feel, is that zone. And I think that's only, you can even see it on footage.
But it's not the same as
Yeah.
in person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the beauty of the dance, right? But I think that's something that is more about the experience in living this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a hard thing to understand if you don't go and find the
True.
places or find the place where you can learn this or even be a part of it. Which leads back to what we're saying about like hopefully the next generation can really live from this, right, as a career, which is not a lot of people that do it into a certain level. But because it's such a small, I would say it's still, yes, such a small like group of people that have succeeded in breaking
Yeah.
to be able to live from it. It is the same in other things, right? There's
True.
only a really small percentage that reach those levels.
True.
It would be dope to see a crossover at eventually where maybe you have, I think that might be something that is coming in the future, but a crossover in terms of maybe having b-boys that are sponsored for not competing.
For not competing.
Yes,
That's super
because
dope, man. I always say,
that's the difference maker, right?
you heard it? Thanks for opening the doors for me. Maybe I still will get a spot. I'm joking. No, I mean, this is super interesting to me. Like a subject like people who are still active. I think that you said something super interesting to me there. Which,
Yeah.
like, of course, when you're competing, it's obvious that you might get sponsored
Yeah,
because you're always on the field.
there's a target about winning, because then other street things or I mean not, but other types of like for example, you can take skateboarding, right? It's the
Yeah.
closest thing that we have
Yeah.
to having a connection, or surfing, right?
Yes.
There's skaters that are sponsored by big brands that don't ever compete.
That's dope.
I mean, Nigel Sylvester, this guy, he's a bike. I believe he's never competed, but he has a Jordan deal. He has his own shoe. He has one of the hottest shoes in the scene right now for sneakers.
That's dope.
So how's a guy that
never
never competed have a deal like that, right? It's because he's creating connections and he's impacting society or just being recognized
by his message, by his
one
way.
is his innovation and the way he captured his lifestyle.
Yeah.
And pushing that to a high level and becoming influential in that way, right? To the point where he can't be denied. And that's inspiring in itself.
And that comes also with the digital world, with the socials.
Exactly.
That's super interesting.
So it's interesting to see, right? So you have in different realms where people are breaking through without having to necessarily be on that forefront of the only competition, right? And I've heard this from many people as well in breaking that they would love that, right? But once that crossover happens, that's when breaking becomes more, from my perspective, it'll be something that is going to be not just the breaking scene no more.
Yeah.
It'll cross over to a different realms, areas, different sides of society, different pop things that are going on, different like cultural things that are happening that create connection and relevancy for breaking and not just for breakers.
Interesting, man. That's
I mean, dope. You know, I say, I've been saying this more, but the same way that you innovate in breaking when you're developing your game, and you're developing your style and your skill set, and you're being innovative in those ideas. In this day and era, you have to be innovative the same way that you are in your style and your breaking, the way you present it.
Yeah.
So for me, at this, I'm gonna probably be fucking pissing people off. I don't care, but like, I feel like we're still in like the late '90s era of music videos where everything was shiny and glossy and like presenting to the camera and all this shit. You know, like the Jiggy era, right? I feel like a lot of breaking content is still in that era.
I feel you. And it's true. Like it's like fast food. Like quick.
In a way, but it's just the way we present it. I feel like it can repackaged. Yeah. It can be repackaged in a different way.
It has to.
It has been happening already by some people, but I'm saying, think the same for all the younger people that are in breaking and are pushing their breaking to those levels. The way that you're innovative in your concepts and movement, you got to think of the same way in the way that you're presenting the media side of it. Yeah. Like your social media, the same way you innovate in social media.
Yes. And this is also one, honestly, this brings, what you're saying right now, brings to why we're doing this as well. It's like a long read, like a long listen. Like it's not that fast. 30 seconds, 50 seconds, 1 minute video. Of course, we're going to take some fragments to trigger some people, but in the end, it's the end goal is that you come and listen to the whole to the whole thing.
Long form content.
And this is hard, man, in these days, because people have no time and they don't want to invest their time into something. Who's going to waste 1 hour and 30 minutes? Only somebody who's really, really dedicated and passionate about the art form.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do believe that out of all the conversations that I've had with the people, we unwrapped so much. Even now with you, first of all, I just want to give you a big shout out again for being here and being part of this Break Talk episode. But it's so fresh, the ideas that people can get out of these talks, and it helps them, whoever is watching. I do believe it. The knowledge that sometimes is being dropped by guests, it helps them really like see things through a perspective which is calm and which is really takes the time to express it. It's not in a flashy 15-30 seconds explanation. No, who can explain something so magical like breaking or hip-hop in 30 seconds? It's almost impossible. You know what I mean?
That's a hard one.
It's a hard one.
But I guess if you can do it, skills.
Just
props.
So RoxRite, probably it's easy for you to bounce back. The resilience that you have built, especially if again, if you've won plus 100 competitions, that means you've lost more than 100.
Fun fact. I'm okay. Just to be clear, I don't know if I've lost more, maybe, but I will say that I never competed more than 13 times in 1 year.
More than 13 times in 1 year.
That was the max, and that was only one time.
Yeah.
And most of the time when I won, and early on, I would only compete like 3, 4, or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Like, for example, right, the first year I started competing in '98, I lost the first one I entered. Then I won 3 straight or 4 straight battles.
Yeah.
And then I didn't lose till the next year.
Interesting.
So it was like, and early on in like 2000, 2001, too, that's when I was losing more often, but I wasn't competing as much.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing 13 battles in 1 year or 14 battles in 1 year. I would maybe do like 5. It was what I was having access to, right? But by 2003, I started winning more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was, okay, I entered 7 battles, I won 5.
Dope.
I entered 10 battles, I won 8. So I was more dedicated to the idea, okay, I'm going to prep for these tournaments, and this is what I'm going to be ready for, whether it was by myself or with my crew.
With the crew, yeah.
Right. And then there was those years when you wouldn't win, right?
Yeah.
05, I didn't win as many, but I won the big ones that mattered.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting, because to me, honestly, whether you win or you lose, in your case, you won more. Still, I mean, that resilience.
I lost a lot, but I can't say that it was 100 losses because I didn't compete that much. That's where I know that in those early years, those many competitions I did, I was winning. For 2000 to 2002, I did lose most of those battles, but I didn't compete that much.
Yeah.
And then eventually it became more wins, and I was losing because I wasn't competing so much.
But to dig deeper into the mindset of the resilience that you bounce back. I mean, from winning, is it like when you lose, you kind of reflect, you're like, no, fuck, how come I lost? And you bounce quick back to the next battle. But then when you win, you're winning, and
but sometimes you don't win in confidence, right? Sometimes you win more on
the title.
You win more on the idea of like delivering what you're good at, and not necessarily in the side where you feel rewarded. That's why sometimes when you lose and you lose with the way that you enjoy the way you break that day, even though you lost, you're gonna walk away inspired still, and that's gonna trigger more motivation for the next time, right? So yeah, there is many times I did lose, where it was many of the losses I did experience were lessons for me to remind myself, okay, if I want to keep competing, whatever I just did here, and if it felt whack, especially losing in a whack way, then it's more like, okay, I'm better than that shit, right? I'm better than that. I can't be doing this. I can't repeat that again. I can't beat myself by doing whack shit or just mis-executing the game plan, right?
So the way I hear you right now is like you are quick at making that.
You have to be.
That click. When you say you have to be.
It's because, I think for me it's because I didn't have many opportunities early on, right? Now I have a competition every weekend, so I can fuck up on Saturday and wake up on Sunday and win a battle. So it's like, so it's not.
But back then you used to invest a lot of your time to travel somewhere, and you better give it
at least make noise.
Yeah.
Give it your all. Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't guaranteed either, though. You know, I can't say that I was going to these events thinking that, I'm going to win. It was just more... I knew that I wanted something and I was trying to achieve something, and I went out there and I just tried to get myself as ready as I could to go there. Yeah. And just do the best me. And if I got the title, then I got the title. If I didn't, then okay, then you go back home. I go back to my day job. Yeah. Go to practice every day because I still love it. Go to the next jam, lose again, then come back home, practice, go back to my day job. You go back to the same struggle, right? The same life. It's not, nothing's changed. It's just more, do you want to make yourself better at what you're loving to do outside of your job? It's like, I want to get better at this shit. I want to get doper. I want to make more noise. So then you keep going back. But that's what kind of kept me more honest to myself and being aware, that I wasn't where I wanted to be. I mean, for example, those years of like I told you, 2000, 2002, when I lost quite often when I did compete, was because I wasn't developing my breaking. I was really in a really stuck phase where I wasn't growing in my dance anymore. And I was not pleased with my breaking at all at that time. I didn't like nothing about it. Even to this day, when I watch that footage, it's like I try to avoid that time frame.
Because I have it too. Of some errors.
Yeah, so it's like you avoid that time frame because it's just like, damn, trash. Like, it's just like, it's like, damn, I was moving like trash. But then, so I didn't like a lot of the movements I was doing. And I stopped growing in many ways, right? And also that was part of my ego because I had a bit of pride because at 17, when I first went to get my first trip somewhere, I felt like I had the ability to keep up with everybody. But realistically, I wasn't developing I stopped developing myself to keep up with the competition because I felt like I did something, right? And the ego feeds you this mentality, like when you win a big battle or you make noise, you feel that you deserve the world.
Yeah.
But the reality is,
You got to keep on
the world don't
working
know you
every
shit. Like, you
Yes.
got to go out and work every day for it and keep
Even
developing.
today,
Yeah,
even
even today,
tomorrow. Yes.
tomorrow, the next day, it doesn't change. So you got to just keep developing, and you got to put your head down and get to work. And if you're gonna reach that level, you're gonna reach it because you
I
want it.
love that you're touching on this subject, because I always like, I always like to say, I don't care what anybody did yesterday, and it's nice that you are mentioning it, because it's so important to still, what are we doing today to make things move forward, to
Yeah,
make things better, to leave things better for the next generation or whoever,
exactly. Yeah.
what is it that we're putting in work? Am I throwing myself still in the competition, or am I throwing a jam, or
Yeah.
what is it that I'm doing? And this is a question that I really always try to pose myself. And if it's nothing, then I gotta move on and
Mhm.
let it be for the scene and not demand anything from it, because I do believe that hip hop breaking gave me more than I ever will be able to give back to it. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Same here.
In the sense of like the way it made me, or make us all in general, break through in the society and
Yeah.
do things in life, like when it comes to emotionally, mentally,
Yeah.
spiritually, even sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Super
Helps a lot.
interesting.
Yeah, it's an outlet for a lot of us, right? So it's, yeah, I mean, it's an experience, right? So you always got to bounce back. And I mean, for me, bouncing back, I mean, when I think of, for example, BC1 2011,
Mm-hmm.
at that time I was the oldest competitor to ever win. I was the oldest guy going to that competition, and I only got the situation because David didn't want to do it because he got a movie.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Kid David. He gave me the spot. So it's like,
Damn.
take rocks. I don't want to do it, but take rocks. And at that point, when they asked me, I was breaking like trash. Like, I just did a battle. I was flopping all over the place. Even Renegade was like, I thought you were done. He straight up told me, he's like, I seen you at Battle of the Year LA, and the way you break there, I never seen you break like that. Because I thought your time was done already. And I felt that way. I mean, also, that was the first year that we started touring as the Road OBC1 All Stars.
Yeah.
And I remember just doing massive tours. I was in
Tours,
Russia
traveling.
for months. I was in Russia for like 3 months that year. I was on a plane like every week, and I went to Chile for like a day and a half after a Russia tour, bounced back to the US, bounced back to Europe. Like, so I didn't even have time to break,
Man.
right? So it was just like, and at that moment he said that, and he was like, yeah, I thought you were done after I saw you there. But the way I prepared for that, I knew that the way I break that Battle of the Year USA that day, I never want to break like that ever again.
So it was like, I had to go bounce back from
So
that.
when David said, like, yo, take my spot, I was like,
You had a goal.
I had to go. I was like, let's fucking go. And then from that moment on, like, the switch was clicked.
Boom.
And the mindset was there.
Commit to it.
Commit to it, yeah.
Stick to it. And it's super dope, because you bring us to a point where I even send you, permanent jet lagged, and even you bring up traveling so much. Even you traveled quite a lot, to be honest, and
I've been privileged and honored, and just, it's been amazing for me to be able to do what I do. I can't believe it sometimes.
and even today, for example, I picked you up at the airport, and we went straight. It's not far. You came from Switzerland to
Yeah,
Belgium.
thank
It's not from the States to
It's pretty
Belgium,
close.
straight to the
Yeah.
podcast. We're not gonna do that. We're not that crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do, though.
Hey,
Straight from 10 hours, it
Yeah.
happens. But that's also pretty crazy, to be honest. Sometimes we're too dedicated, and we're too
Yeah.
kind of humble and respectful. And sometimes I get it. Hey,
Mhm.
energy is, there's this amount of energy
Yeah.
that we have. We need sleep. We need to recover. We need to have a rhythm. So how do you deal with all that energy managing, man?
Honestly, it's been interesting, right? Traveling across the world to compete often.
Mhm.
One is to compete, the other is to maybe teach and work.
Yeah.
There's different tiers to it, right?
Definitely.
But one is you have to rest. Whenever you're tired, you sleep. At least that's what's worked for me. Whenever I'm traveling so much, I just know that I need a rest. But I decide when to be active and when not to be active, right? There's moments when I would be traveling a lot, and I would put myself on the pit of, like, on the line of fire. I like to say, is being on the line of fire is going to the battle and putting your name out there. And we do that every time, right? But
Yeah.
when I started experiencing the consistent traveling that I got to experience, I would sometimes throw myself in the line of fire when I was not even prepping.
Yeah.
I just was like, all right, let's do it. It's there. We're going to do this battle. But I wasn't
ready. I wasn't
training.
energy
I was on a
not
plane every
right,
week. The energy wasn't there. I was fatigued every week. Like, so I'm not even psychologically preparing myself for this type of situation. So from the experiences I kept having with those type of moments, I realized that psychologically, if I did decide to do a battle and I knew that I was going to travel, I would already be prepping my mind up prior to that month, right? So say the battle's in 3 months, and I know that the 2 months before it, I'm going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Then when I'm all over the place, I'm making sure that I'm eating right, I'm training right, or I'm moving somehow using my teachings or the work that I'm in to keep myself focused in what I'm about to do. So mentally, I know I'm still going to probably be tired when I get to the gym, but at least psychologically, the mind is already ready to go experience this moment that you've been waiting for and anticipating.
Yeah.
Because when you just do it on the limb, like you show up and like, oh, okay, I'm flying in tomorrow. I haven't really been training. I just got off this tour. And you go and you're just not ready. It shows, you know. And I think people don't realize that early on when we used to come to Europe, they would fly us in the day before the battle, which still happens for a lot of us, right? But so we would show up, you do the battle, and then either you did really good or you would do really shitty. And if you did shitty, people would think you fell off. And imagine that's flying. That's not the case. It's just, this is just the fatigue.
Yeah.
And it's part of it, right? And I think the funny thing is that I kept hearing more about it now that people were doing this Olympic cycle. That they were complaining about the jet lag thing. And for me, it was like, just welcome to the club. That's what we've been dealing with. You know, it's like been living this for you know, we were dealing with that all the time, and your performance sometimes weighs heavily on that too.
Yes,
and
man.
For someone like for myself, I had this talk with Menno before, and he mentioned for him it was really interesting from my side because he said in Europe we have all of the big events. You guys have all the big championships. Majority of the big championships were in Europe or in Asia, right? Either you jump 8 hours ahead from Europe to go battle in Asia, or the Asians bounce back 8 hours to come battle here, right?
Yeah.
For someone from the Americas, right? We have to cross the ocean to come to Europe to battle in the championships here, which is a 9-hour difference.
Yeah.
Or we decide to go to Asia, where it's a 17-hour difference.
Yeah.
For us to get that individual recognition, we had to go either to Asia or to Europe.
True.
It's
hard.
It's not a 3-hour flight or a 2-hour train ride to go win a world title.
I mean, we felt that with Asia because there was a lot in Japan.
Yeah.
And going to Japan for us is what is for you guys coming to Europe.
Yeah.
And you guys going even further to Japan is even more complicated.
It's more crazy, yeah.
And it was really, we kind of started calculating that and really planning a few days extra before, so that we get into the rhythm, local rhythm, and starting to think of how can we, you know, make it happen. Because some of the breakers were really like just done, man.
Trained, yeah.
Like, and again, it's not everybody the same, but it's then how you deal with that.
Yeah,
how you manage it.
Yeah.
How is your mindset? Because, you know, we've had people who are jet lagged and still killed it till the end, you know, like, and it's like,
I mean, I did that when I was young. I remember the first trip I went on overseas.
Yeah.
I slept like 3 hours. I was so hyped to be here in Europe. I was like, wait, battle, so tough. Like, and at that time I was just like pure energy. So I remember sleeping like shit and doing 2 categories and winning the 1-on-1.
Talking about energy, we take a little break.
Yeah.
So we're back, and second layer of this conversation, the first layer was more about these, you know, what is it that passionates us? The roles that we have, the risk, the bouncing back, the usual attitudes or that we need to work on to be able to, you know, to be consistent, to be able to live that lifestyle without falling off, I would say, because it ain't easy, you know.
No, definitely not.
And the second layer is more, I would say, the first one is like the environment and the relationships. How important it is to you, like, for example, crew, the community, the scene, you know, that journey. What are your insights that you can share about these connections?
Don't take competition too serious where you burn people's bridges or you burn relationships with people or potential relationships with people. The competition of breaking is dance related. You could want to win. Everybody wants to win. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to be willing to step up to the plate and level yourself up to that level and reach that pedigree of skill where you are going to be able to do that. And I believe it's possible for many.
Mm-hmm.
For me, early on, in the years that I was being very active, there was a lot of us that were coming up together. And some of us held on to that competitive nature, right? I remember when I battled Hong Kong the first time, him and physics were sort of, they had all the hype.
Yeah.
And when I had wanted to battle them, but I was hungry and I walked in there with the mentality that I'm gonna fuck shit up. And I didn't care who was in front of me. But that wasn't to be disrespectful to them. It was more that I needed to have a fighting spirit to be like, I gotta do this, right? But for Hong, I remember in Brazil in 2006, he's, I'm gonna get you back for UK champs. But he can barely speak English. He told me that in Brazil, and I was injured, and I was like, probably gonna, in my head, I'm like, he's gonna get this one because I can't, you know. And it was his day. There's no way, you know, like that's his day. But in my, I was like, damn. I was like, man, I'm supposed to shit out you next time. You know, like you have that, but it's not in a way where I was trying to be like a dickhead. It was more like it's just the competitive nature of a battle. You're a b-boy. It's the ego, it's the pride, right? Same thing with Lilu, right? I battled Lilu the first time in 2007 in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I beat him in Africa, right? And I got booed. Everybody hated me, and I'm just like, whatever. I was hyped that I beat him. Yeah, that's what it is. I got it, you know? But I knew for him it was something special, that event, right? And I remember I got to build with him more. And even though we had that competitive feeling in dance and when we were on those stages, but as people, we got to connect. And I think we learned to... I started to understand that it's not just breaking, that it has to be that way. It's more, I got to connect with these people on a human element, and it was more about the people that they are outside of the competitive side of breaking. Yeah, they can be an asshole, they can flip you off or whatever.
Yeah.
But when we're outside and we're talking, if you're a good person, you're a good person, and we're able to connect and bond, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because had me and Lilu kept those egos, or me and Pelezino kept those egos, or me and Ronnie, there wouldn't been a Roto BC1 All-Star team.
That's sick. It makes sense, though.
You know what I mean?
Because there would have been conflicts and fights, and it wouldn't have been a positive experience for nobody who was involved in it. Not even for the people who are looking outside.
Exactly. And some people live by that type of... or I've seen a lot of people burn themselves by being overly competitive. Yes, you can be competitive in the realm that you want to succeed in what you love to do. And, you know, not everybody's going to succeed in it, but that don't mean you got to go hold ill feelings or harsh feelings towards the people that are.
Yeah.
And I think as competitive as I was when I was young, I never took it too personal. And outside of the moment that we were on that stage or floor, if we didn't disrespect ourselves outside of that, or to the point where we felt like we could always settle in a cypher battle, but even after that, we could still talk and still have a conversation and still be cool.
Yeah.
And still be able to look out for one another.
Super dope, man. It makes me like, it's such a nice, dope answer because it totally makes sense. The way you bring it is like, hey, human first. Like if you're a good person, makes sense. Create relations. It's a community. It's a scene, and everybody's going through their own struggles in whatever part of their timeline they are at the moment. Maybe they're beginners and they have, you know, they're trying to fight. They're trying to climb the ladder. Maybe you're at the top, and maybe your ego is kind of filled with that attention, and maybe you're past that time. You know, it depends. Everybody lives on a different timeline.
Exactly.
And it's super interesting, to always be humble, you know, and thankful, grateful, and as well, especially the youth that is coming, you know, I always say the way you treat them today, that's how you're going to be treated tomorrow, you know, like, and I always feel as well as a young kid coming up, the people that I met on the journey, I always somehow, now that I'm older, my brain brings me back to these people, and wants to reach out to them again, to reconnect, because they were always so they were always so humble and so chill, and they kind of paved the way, like, hey, you're young, you're hungry, here it is. Like I'm
your
gonna
turn.
give you some stuff to play with, you know, like
Yeah.
to some tools to deal with.
grow.
Super interesting,
Yeah,
because we gotta take care of one another.
for sure.
But as well, being part of a crew,
Mhm.
different crews as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my first crew was called Sub 4, straight up B-Boys. And there's always this dialect or this conversation about crews and super crews and all this stuff in breaking, right? And these teams and all that. And the thing with that, I mean, for me, my first crew, we were kids, and we grew, eventually life took over for a lot of us. And not everybody had the same will or drive to want to stay in breaking. They had other ways and different things they want to do out of life. And not everybody's gonna live, and not everybody's gonna walk down the same street, right?
So true.
There's many different avenues that everybody can take to get to where they want to go in life, because breaking is not the end all be all for a lot of people.
So true.
So I had this experience with them, but they're still friends. I can still call them. I can still catch up with them.
That's dope.
They're still homies, you know. They're still close friends of mine. Then I got in Renegades in 2000. With Renegades, I didn't battle with anybody else till maybe 2005. It took me 5 years for me to even branch out to battle with other people that are not my crew.
That are not Renegades.
Yes, and that's the code we represented for a long time.
Nice.
But as the scene started evolving and the side of competition that started growing more and more, I hit the same wall, right? I'm still driven to want to compete, but not everybody, not everybody in my crew wants to do that, right?
Yeah.
So they had different ways they wanted to go in life, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
But I'm pursuing this to a deeper level in terms of pursuing this as like you could say profession or a path where I want to stay active.
Yeah. And there goes your journey of seeking further connections.
So then me and David connect with Speedy and Squid, which leads us to actually me and David created Break Disciples. So Break Disciples was that was something that I came up with, and me and David ran with it, and it was just me and him at first, and then Speedy really liked what we represented, so he got down, and then we got Kevel down, and there was only 4 of us. So Break Disciples only had 4 members for a bit, and then that's when we connected. That's when the squadron, the base of the connection started, was because of David and Speedy mainly, actually.
That's dope.
And Squid and them, and then I was just more like the elder. And because Kid David was in my crew and we kept being active, that's how we started bonding with these people.
Kid David was Renegades too, right? Yeah, that's why. The connection, the link.
Yeah. So he was the next one in line, right? And I started helping him and you could say mentoring him a bit for like 2005 and on, like 04 until 05 and on. And we started competing more actively then. And that's how the connection of squadron became. But again, right, it's because what happened in my crew, a lot of guys weren't as active or they weren't pushing like that and they didn't want to travel as much. So then I was still buying my tickets with David, going to battles with David, driving for hours to go compete with David.
2-on-2s, I remember.
2-on-2s, and that led to us connecting with these people that wanted to do the same. And not many people in their crews were also as active as them either. So then we just all kind of bonded off the mutual respect and appreciation for one another's approach to breaking and having that connection to what we represented. And I think that's how that crew was established on a vision. And I mean, Mex is the one that really saw us and put us together, because he saw this guy. Like we already bonded, but he saw that there was a connection there.
There was something,
and he wanted to keep that connection. And then he gave the name Squadron as well. So it was his vision. Max. Rest in peace, Max. So, and then we have that. And I mean, since then, I've been only that. And I've been Renegades, and I never left Renegades. I became the president of Renegades, and I've been Squadron from the beginning. I've never competed with. I mean, I competed with the All-Stars as well, but I helped create the All-Stars as well.
Yeah, so it's also a different it's a more sponsored approach. It's more a project, which is worldwide as well. And again, different relations, different environment creates a different approach. Super interesting the way you broke down the evolution of the crews and you wanting to pursue more. And then moving on, connecting with other people that also are on that same page. And I do believe as well that's why it happens these days. That's why, let's
Yeah.
say, crews or family crews which start from zero, because from scratch, because in this city where I'm from, Ghent, we used to have a local crew as well, which we are still now sticking around together, like Sam, like you saw, 9,000 styles.
Yeah.
But we never competed with them.
Oh
We
wow.
always pursued different people, because the crew back then was interested in so many different lanes, like theater, like doing this, like doing that. Then never really aligned to go battle. And some of us were really like, I wanted to go battle.
Yeah.
Like who's
Yeah.
on it? Who's
on
on
it? Who wants to do this?
Nobody.
Yeah.
All right, then I gotta find other
Gotta
people
find-
to
yeah.
do it with. So that's how I do believe as well. That's how, let's say, all-star teams or
Develop
Develop.
and they become crews as well eventually.
exactly.
I think if you're consistently like consistently meaning like every event you're changing with people, that's obviously a super crew. But if you
Yeah.
are able to have the same lineage of people and lineups of people for a long time, then it does become
Then it
eventually
does
a crew,
become,
right?
yeah.
And not to take nothing away from the rarity and the beauty of seeing crews that have transcended time and generations is dope to me. I love
Yeah.
to see crews that were
Yeah.
able to have members since they were young into today.
Until today.
And that's a rare thing. So I don't want the scene to get discouraged to say, oh, Rox did it that way.
No,
Because there
yeah.
is crews out
Yeah.
there that have been breaking since they were young, and all of them truly passionately pursued breaking as their way out and their career path or their way to sustain themselves in life. And they all succeeded. So to me, to see that, that's also dope, right? So there's no right or wrong. It's just this is my way, right? This is how I had to do it,
you know, as well.
This is how I had to do it to get to stay in the way that I wanted to keep living this lifestyle. Other people do it in different ways, and they're able to maintain those crews together for as long as they have, and that's dope, right? So I don't want people to think that it's just about teaming up with people. If you have the friendships and you have people that are so active and are pushing just like you, and they're traveling with you, then.
But it doesn't happen in one day. I don't, you know, like this. What you did is like you said, the process was like over time. The connections happened, things were built. Look at the squadron today. Of course, it's maybe people from different crews as well or different backgrounds, but still, like when I see you guys rock together, to me, it gives me a real crew feeling. There's a vision. There is something there that's been built. Yeah. And like you said, it's true. Like there is still crews that are still around, like from the scratch
when they're young and from scratch to adulthood, you know. And
they also had to recruit some new members or
eventually
find some new gens. You know, take some gems who were good. Like let's drop. And it's easier for crews who have a reputation to get somebody who's good in the crew, because the crew has built something. And this is smart, you know. Like if you have a dope crew out there, make sure it stays alive, you know.
If you can. I mean, if everybody's willing to stay committed
exactly.
to it, right? It's also comes down to people's life and where they're at in life, right? And some people are able to do that, some people aren't, and there's nothing wrong if they can or can't. It's just life, you know.
And I'm happy these years, like after Olympics now, a lot of events are coming back with crew battles. World Breaking Classics is back with the crew battle.
Celebrating their 20 years with Ruggeds.
Normally it's a 2-on-2, but then they're celebrating the Ruggeds exactly the anniversary. Unbreakable is gonna be a crew battle as well, 20 years anniversary. Battle of the Year is gonna be in Korea.
Yep.
Crew battle as well for
Out
kids.
for Fame's coming back.
Out for Fame at Outbreak as well.
Skating are bringing it back.
Yes.
So that's gonna be dope. I mean, we've, you know, the crew thing has always been there. I think it's just because we've been oversaturated with the one-on-one idea stuff and the competition of one-on-one, especially with the Olympic stuff that happened. I think that we've had so much of that the crew, to bring back the crew essence, is also dope, right? So,
and it's gonna take I think it's gonna take some time before it gets there again, because some crews still, it's hard to keep a crew alive, to come together, to practice, to
for sure.
It ain't easy, man. Like homework.
I mean, I mean, the thing is, we did have that for 20-something years with Battle of the Year, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I think that we forget, I mean, I think crew battles are always so much fun and so dope. The only thing that I remember, when, you know, everything has its cycle to me, I feel like it's like we go through, or like it goes like this, right? So it's like the one-on-one is here, okay, we don't want no more of that. But then we forget why they get burnt out, right? And then we forget that there was crew routines that were like 5 minutes fucking long.
True.
And
everybody hated it.
And everybody hated it because then it would be a 20-minute battle with 3 rounds, and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? A cheerleading competition or a breaking competition?
You're bringing us back to these whack ass crew battles, bro.
I don't want that, but I'm just saying, it's just a reminder
so
of how the cycles work in what we love to do, right? We all love breaking, but
yeah.
I mean, we got to be able to talk our shit too sometimes and laugh about some of the things we've lived.
Yeah, but I think everybody realized, like, look, this 4 years of one-on-one chasing the long journey, it's been enough. I think we need to get back a bit to that cultural aspect.
For sure.
Especially with festivals, with events. Also, maybe more conceptual battles, more playing, more footworks, having to smoke, like all these kind of approaches. I think concept battles are
gives
really,
people a challenge.
Yeah, it's more fun as well to do it. And a lot of, what I'm happy about, to be honest, RoxRite, is that as well the jams got back way more than before. So there's a lot of jams now also that are being organized, and these jams are really, really actually also
they're fresh.
They're super.
I keep seeing them. I went to a few, and I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I think you need everything, right? You can't. Yeah, man. We need to have everything, and the jam is where a lot of things are developed in terms of influence, right?
Yeah.
The competition is what is presented at the end of the day. That's the package presentation of all the development that we do through going to jams. So I think it's important for people to realize that the jam is just as important, if not more, because that's where the influence starts.
True, man. So yeah, it's all existing now, and this is how, to me, the aftermath of the Olympics feels kind of interesting to see, to follow.
In the end, the scene dictates where it goes.
Yeah. So let's all work together, man, like to push it and like help it go forward, be it sustainable. This is the most important to me. It's like, pass it on to the next generation, make sure there is a circuit, make sure there's like events for them, make sure they're getting educated correctly, going back to the source of where it all came from. As you can see, we even have tapes, and we have like an old TV upstairs. We stick them sometimes in when there's jams. It's fun because when you have a kid who's walking here and he's like just 10 or 5. I mean, he wasn't born yet. Like, he doesn't even know what this is. But still, there's so much history in there, man.
What is this box?
What is this box? What's in there, man? Can you take one of them that you were in it?
Well, I mean, I think you have one for sure right here. This one.
Freestyle Session 7.
7 and 6 too. I think you guys have Freestyle Session 6. I was in that one too. And
these are not the original ones. Sorry, Rox. Sorry, Cross. We do have an original one as well, Freestyle Session.
Yeah. I mean, this one for sure, and then there's one more tape that I was
Freestyle Session 7.
7. Here.
Who did you do?
I did this was it was a Folk Fanatic style. It was Style Elements and Folk Fanatic. So it was like me, Stilo, Po One, Stompman, Remind, Crumbs.
Oof, what a squad.
Wicked. Actually, we were there. The funny thing is, Wicked at the time was living in LA, and he was training a lot with them. Yeah. And he
Did you guys win that one?
Yeah, we won that one. That was my first freestyle session. But that time I was, I look at that as that one was really special because it was, freestyle session was this big thing for us, and it was such a big event, already historical for us, and such like a pinnacle for us to try and achieve. And that time, I can't say that I was in my preference of breaking.
Yeah.
But Wicked has always, mad love to Wick. He saw something in me, even at those moments when I was doubting myself a lot.
Yeah.
And he gave me the opportunity to battle with the guys with Style Elements. And those guys also showed me a lot of love throughout the years.
Nice.
Like Crumbs, reminding them. They always just, looked out and showed love to what I represented. And
took you under the wing sometimes.
And in many ways. And they're the ones that are, okay, you and Rox come battle with us. And we jumped on board. And for me, I was there. That was to me completely like a student experience.
Yeah.
I was there just soaking up all the games, just watching these guys lead the battle, dominate, and just be so like on point. It was crazy just being there I was 19 at the time.
Wow, that's dope.
And reminds one of my biggest inspirations. He's a piece of my style.
Yeah.
And just begin to battle with them, with all of them, and
feeling the energy
feeling the
alongside
energy,
is
their
different, right?
approach, and just
Yeah.
the battle preparation, the mindset as to the way they were gonna battle that day. I was just blown away. Like, damn, this is crazy. You know,
Incredible.
like, it was just dope. And yeah, man, it was definitely a life changing moment for me, because I felt like that put me in a different type of light for where I was at, even though I
Mhm.
knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be. So it opened doors. I mean, it got me seen across the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a special one because it was the first, and then the way that I went in there is almost, I went there as like a rookie.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
it was a rookie experience going to such an event with such an experienced group of people, and getting to battle with them and learn from them. And interestingly enough, 7 years later, after they had won it maybe 2 or 3 times since then, I come back with Squadron
Yeah.
as
Then
the
rep with them.
battle with them and battle them in the finals.
Whoa.
So it's
That's
like,
dope too.
it's an interesting story, right? So, and we kept losing to them in 2004, 2000, this other battle, we kept losing to them.
Came
And in
back with the same
2009, we got Squadron, Monster Squad, the two, like the newer, younger guys versus the iconic championship squad. Because, yo, they were dominant like crazy. Like, California Monster Squad was dominant.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how dominant they were. So to me, that was my competition. A lot of those guys were my competition. So for a lot of the Renegade guys, it was like, I'm not Jordan. I don't compare myself to him. But when you hear the story of Jordan, how he had to play the Celtics, the Pistons, they were that dominant. Those guys were, that was them. They were that dominant. They would win everything, and they would just kill it. They were always ready, had the routines ready. We would always lose to them because of this, or in the semis, or in the finals. And eventually, it was like, okay, we finally got them.
And yeah, man, the one, it's like, it's like a game of, once you get it, boom, finally, like nobody can hold it forever,
No,
like,
of course not. But it was not in a bad way. It was just, for me, being able to go in there and experience that as almost as a rookie.
Interesting.
And then come back 7 years later as one of the elders with this new group of individuals.
New squad.
It's like, it's a trip,
You've always as well brought new generations with you into battling.
Yeah.
I always see that with Ron as well. I see that with many, not only with him, but in the journey. I've seen you always show up with young people, and that's interesting to me as well.
Yeah, I guess it's worked out that way. I think for me, it's more that these kids and people that I've been involved with and try to help, or if they come to learn from, whether it's crew or whether it's from me directly. Yeah, I mean, if we're in it, we're in it.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the crew, or we're in this and you're truly learning and wanting to learn, I'm going to go with you and battle with you. For me, it's just, also I learn from them, right? So
yeah, definitely.
As much as I helped David, he helped me a lot.
Yeah. And they sometimes often also bring some new energy.
New energy, new fire.
You might have the more mature approach to the game and understanding and knowledge. They still have this new fire, which probably you're like, okay, nice.
I mean, honestly, that pivotal point for me was when I started battling with David. The thing people don't realize, at that time, many mid-20-year-old adults were not competing as much. They would look at me crazy. Even when I was in the 21, some of the guys that I looked up to were, "You still competing, bro? What are you doing?" And they're 26, so they're still young, right?
Yeah.
But
you're like, what?
They're like, "Well, this is what I love." And then, by the time David was more active, I was already
20 years later, you're still competing, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, it just started.
It's just the new beginning. But that he brought that fire because he was so hungry and so motivated and such a driven person.
I was a dope dude,
that man. I needed that energy, and he gave me that energy to respark my career in many ways. So in many ways, I helped him and he helped me. So it was subconsciously, maybe.
I used to have that with Simon. You remember Simon from Belgium? We used to do a lot of 2-on-2s, and he used to be so young, this young energy, fresh. Like suddenly, like he sparked me in so many ways to like still push it to somehow. It's so dope, man. The way you approach this one. When it comes to we all experience some failures and pains at some point in this journey.
Yeah.
If you're a human, you did too. We all do. How do we cope with that? with
I
the
mean,
challenges?
I, you know, dealing with ups and downs in this, it's just whether you can get back up, right? It's more about getting back up, and I think it's more life's lessons. I
Mm-hmm.
think in life, whether you break or not, you're gonna go through ups and downs. In this game, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's moments where you doubt yourself. There's moments you experience certain things with maybe even crew members or people that are involved in your life that may maybe leave a bad taste
Mm-hmm.
or throw you off, or maybe feel like, maybe I don't want to be a part of this anymore, right? There's a lot of different things that you'll go through, but just remember that you do this for yourself too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we get caught up trying to appease uh, outside energies or outside sources.
The
In the end,
external.
they're not you, and they're not going to be you, and they never will be, and you're
Yeah.
never going to be them.
Yeah.
So your legacy is yours, and your life is yours. Your shoes are yours. So it's like, make something with it. And of course, that down could be heavy,
Mm-hmm.
but there's always a way out. So just always try to find a solution or a way out, or find inspiration or something that can get you back on track to who you are, and just try to stay focused on who you are, because people will try to distract you from who you truly are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let them consume you,
Yeah.
then you will get lost. So just remember, keep your energy and keep yourself safe from those type of vibes.
Yeah. Always come above. Dope, man. Thanks for sharing that. And when it comes to uh, the top, is there enough space at the top? Meaning, the pressure that is needed, internal, external pressure that we face to go there. The expectations,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah, yeah. So
responsibilities daily,
constantly, yeah.
constantly. You
So
know
in
what I mean?
anything you do, yeah.
Yeah.
uh, of course, there's space. I think, and breaking for sure, because you win this weekend and lose next.
That's dope.
So just, I think there's different ways to what you would want to define the top, right? Or I
Definitely.
think certain people are at the top of many different things.
I like
But I
that.
think that there's room for everything, I think, and there's room for a lot of people.
When you say you're at the top of many things, because I like the way you say it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean then?
I mean, somebody could be at the top of maybe competitive breaking,
Yeah,
of influence,
that's dope.
of being heard, of throwing events.
Yeah.
It's not one top in breaking, right? It's not. It's like, okay, you can be good at the competition side of it for a while, but you could also be the most influential figure,
Yeah, yeah.
but you're
Be
not winning the battle.
respected for a
Yeah,
certain thing that
exactly.
you
So
did, or a certain flow that you
yeah,
invented,
exactly,
or
exactly. So there's different pinnacles and tops to this. So don't try to just chase one.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
I
like
mean,
that.
that's for me. That's what I think. Um, yeah, I mean, some things will never be redone.
Mm-hmm.
Some things, yeah, everybody has their avenue, and I think it's just being aware of where you're at. Um, but once you get into those situations, don't let power control you, or don't think the idea that you have the power puts you in any higher position over anybody, because
Mm-hmm.
eventually we all come down the hill.
Yeah, that makes sense though. That makes totally. We always come back to ground zero.
Exactly. You got to walk down that mountain too.
Yeah. And and that with success and glory, of course, first of all, there's different ways of defining success. Like you said,
Yeah.
uh, is it about financial gain? Is it about fame? Is it about no? It's not about that. It's also about maybe just learning a new move daily and having that feeling of that kind of feeling. "Oh, I feel good about it," and not even
Yeah.
having to go to competition or even
Yeah.
making a win out of it. It's super interesting. Like you said already,
Mm-hmm.
it depends how you define that.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes down to your standards of life.
Last last one, RoxRite, and I think 10 minutes left
Okay.
on the clock, which is good.
Buzzer
Um,
beater.
navigating change, especially in 2025, things
Yeah.
change going super quick with the internet,
Mm-hmm.
with everything. Um, everything travels in a quick speed, to be honest. Like even if this just setting up a podcast or it goes super quick, compared to, even though still takes a lot of time compared to put your phone there and then it's live streamed. That's why it's like I'm going for quality. That's why there is microphones, the receivers. It's
Perfect.
I try to push that, but still things go quick today.
Yeah.
How do we navigate in this quick change?
And breaking, I don't think there's really an overnight thing. So you got to think of it like that, right? It's there is constant change, but just making sure that you stay true to what you represent is one thing. But I think also having a wider understanding of what this dance is and the style of what this dance is. I think with those type of things, and if you're informed in those fields, then you'll see that that change is not as heavy for you, right? Because if if I was always chasing the next hot thing, then I'll get lost easier, right? But because I understand I got taught certain things about this culture and this dance that I feel need to be represented, I've decided to stay true to a certain approach that I have for the dance, while at the same time challenging myself to see if I could keep up with those new trends, right? But I'm not gonna leave my base.
Your base.
I'm just gonna be like, okay, I see that. That's cool too, right? That's cool. That new shit is cool too. But let me stick to my stuff and let me see if I can play with that too. Like, can I mess with it a little bit? Doesn't mean I'm gonna be that. It's just like you take sources of inspiration, right? An inspiration, you take the source of inspiration, you implement it to your approach, and when you see what the fast moving phases we go through in today's society, and even per se, let's say breaking, is like, okay, well, can I take some of that new shit and fuck with it? And flip maybe it within, flip it within my foundation. Style. With my foundation. Does it work? No, maybe. I don't know. Let's find out, right? So I'm not scared of it, but also at the same time, I know that I gotta stay true to what I believe in and I'm gonna be doing for me. And I think that's helped me throughout the years with the information that I was taught early on.
That's dope, man. That's, first of all, thank you again for being part of this, RoxRite. I really do appreciate you, and still, again, my respect and my pure, honest respect towards you for everything that you've done, that you keep doing, and for being part and still here, straight from the airport to Together We Stand. Last, I would say, I just want to throw some key words out there. I want you to quickly just dig into your thoughts and give a quick phrase how important it is for you and why. You talked about it already. Your strong fundamentals, foundations, basics, the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s.
Yeah, I mean, that is important because that's the base of the dance, right? I also, of course, believe in evolving it and pushing it forward. But if you don't have the base of what this truly came from at this day and age and this point in breaking, we're almost 50 years into this shit, and you still want to ignore that there's a foundation to it, I think you're doing it a disjustice to the culture and what you're saying you're representing. So I do believe that you need to have your own style and evolve the style and the moves and everything, but you also need to have an understanding to that.
Word. Levels and directions.
I mean, that makes everything more special, right? If I was always breaking in one direction and doing the same pattern, the same direction every single time, it'd get boring. So I think the most masterful b-boys that have ever braked are the ones that can surprise you from any angle.
Energy
is what you do and what you do. I mean, the energy is what you leave on the floor and what people are going to remember you by. What you make somebody feel, that's the energy, and that's what you need to leave behind when you hit the floor. Are you going to inspire, or are you just going to be a bland person?
Focus and isolation.
I mean, when you think about focus and isolation, I think it's more about, let me see, that's more detailed. That's precision in terms of picking patterns and sticking to them and making sure you execute those ideas, even if they're very complicated, and making them readable.
Sick. Time
you could never beat time, and there's no time is the most valuable thing that you could never get back.
Oof. Time is the most valuable thing that you never can get back. That's dope. Personality is everybody has their own personality. It's just, can you expose that side of yourself to the masses in a moment of
vulnerability when you're dancing?
Attitude.
Attitude is your approach to presenting yourself, whether you give a fuck or not, because you want to be there and you want to make noise, or you don't. So your attitude matters. It's either you want to be positive, or you want to be aggressive, or you want to be happy, or you want to be funny.
Character.
Character. I mean, character is sometimes more of it's an extension of your personality. It's like becoming a bit more open and fully being able to let that side of yourself go. And to me, that's character.
Dope, man. Thank you. Any one last word within you that we want to drop?
Just say, yo, thanks for having me. Hope everybody is out there learning, experiencing, and really pushing this dance, whether it's to new heights or learning new things or learning old ways. Just pay your respects and keep it moving. Thank you, RoxRite. Appreciate you for being part of Break Talk. And peace out. We're out. Peace out. Thanks, bro. No, thanks. You were chilling in there. I was sank in. Dope. Dialed in.